Ah, babies. Do you remember the time when you were young? When you were creative, motivated, eager? Do you remember how colors made you feel? How shapes made you imagine? How knowledge made you aspire? Do you remember the feeling of knowing in your heart you could accomplish anything you wanted? All of us, yes, all of us once had that feeling. You see, children are ambitious. And kids who love cars, well, they imagine themselves driving cars like these. However, as we all know too well, life is never as simple as what we think of when we were kids. And so we settle for the next best thing, a Golf, or maybe even a Corolla, hatchbacks and sedans that tick all the boxes. And if we are the lucky few, well, we get cars that do more than just tick the regular boxes, but rather they scratch that itch of our inner child. No child has ever, in their normal mind, wanted to own a Toyota Fortuner or have a RAV4 on their bedroom wall. No child wants to suffer through the misery of driving home this, a Smiggle, or otherwise known as a Nissan Juke. But the undeniable truth is that SUVs have taken over the automotive world. Even the Nissan Juke. And like a child, eager to acquire knowledge, I wanted to know why. Why has the world gone mad over these still boxes on stilts? The story of SUVs traces back to the late 1930s and early 1940s, an era marked by the break of World War II. It was during this time when the Japanese manufactured the Kurogane Type 97, which was manufactured for the army from 1936 to 1944. Over in Germany, Opel developed the Gelände Sportswagen, which many consider to be the first CUV or crossover utility vehicle. But the emergence of the SUV can probably be attributed to the Willys Jeep station wagon, which emerged as a symbol of American ingenuity. This rugged four-wheel drive vehicle, built upon the iconic Jeep platform, which was a part of the American war effort, was designed to tackle off-road conditions while providing ample space for passengers and cargo. Across the globe in Japan, Toyota unveiled the Land Cruiser, another off-road powerhouse. The Land Cruiser quickly gained popularity among military and civilian users alike, thanks to its durability and versatility. These early SUVs paved the way for the diverse range of vehicles we see today. As the 1950s and 1960s unfolded, the United States witnessed a surge in suburbanization. Families were relocating from crowded cities to spacious suburban homes, creating a demand for vehicles that could handle both city streets and weekend adventures. SUVs like the Ford Bronco emerged to meet this need, offering a combination of off-road capability, passenger comfort, and ample cargo space. In the 1990s, the SUV landscape expanded even further, with the introduction of compact SUVs like the Toyota RAV4. These smaller, more affordable SUVs offered the versatility of their larger counterparts, but without the bulk or fuel consumption. The RAV4 success paved the way for a new generation of compact SUVs that catered to urban dwellers and those seeking a more fuel-efficient option. Today, SUVs reign supreme in the automotive market. They account for a significant portion of new car sales worldwide, and their popularity shows no sign of waning. SUVs have become a symbol of modern lifestyles, offering a blend of practicality, comfort, and style that appeals to a diverse range of drivers. And so I decided to try it out for myself. If I was really going to give into this SUV craze, well, I needed to get behind an SUV. And it just so happens that Tavcor Mastercars was thinking the exact same thing. After watching last week's video on the T-Roc, they wanted us to continue dotting the I's and crossing the T's in the SUV range, so to speak. And so they gave us this, the newish 2023 Tiguan 1.4 R line. The model we got came in the color Lapiz Blue, which I think looks good in this car. I had the privilege of owning a Mark 7.5 Golf R, which also came in Lapiz Blue. So this color brought back some happy memories for me. I was a big fan of the previous model Tiguan, as it had the right proportions. It was a handsome looking vehicle that had presence, still does, but it also had soft lines that made it fit anyone who drove it. It really was a good package. So good in fact, that in 2022, the Tiguan was the best-selling model across the VW brand worldwide. Now it's well known that VW tends not to revolutionize their design, especially when they bring out a new model. Instead, they prefer the evolution approach. And that is certainly the case here with the new Tiguan. But I must say, they have brought a bit of sharper features to the look of this new model. It has made it a bit more masculine, especially in the front. The back has stayed largely the same, which isn't a bad thing in my opinion. Sometimes there isn't a need to change something just for the sake of change. Just small tweaks are enough. The side of the car again is a continuation of the recipe that made the previous model a success. The proportions still look just right. The wheel arches are filled quite nicely in my opinion. Inside, the car has a premium interior, the soft touch material found at most places in the cabin. Seats are very comfortable, and since this model has the winter package, it has seat warmers, which is a nice feature when it gets cold. The model we have here comes with a 1.4 liter engine, which produces 110 kilowatts of power and 250 newton meters of torque. And those figures are quite good, especially for modern cars. But this is not a small car, and 250 newton meters of torque kinda feels a bit too little for this amount of weight. And you feel this, especially when doing lane passing. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not slow, but I just think when it comes to SUVs, a minimum is 2 liters because it works better for these cars. Plus, the 2 liter engine comes with 4Motion, which honestly, what is the point of owning an SUV if it doesn't have all-wheel drive? I think it's time to address the elephant in the room. I do not like SUVs. I think for someone like me who lives in the city, it just does not make sense to own an SUV. There are a number of reasons why I think this: fuel consumption, the weight, the size, but chief among which I think is the segment name to which these cars belong to, SUVs. In my opinion, there is an incorrect understanding of the word S, which means sport, in SUV. The original makers of these cars never intended for them to be sports cars. It defies science to expect a car that is this high from the ground to behave like a sports car. So it is not a sports car. None of them are. Well, except for the Urus or Urus. But that, again, in my opinion, I don't think is an SUV. It's more like a CUV, maybe even a hatchback. I don't want to go down that road. Instead, the word sport in SUV means adventurous. A car that tackles rough terrain, gravel, mountains, rivers, and so forth. So in other words, these cars take you to places where you can be sporty. You are the sport in SUV. This car takes you to places where you can do things like mountain biking, trail running, whitewater rafting, and all the other stuff that puts your life unnecessarily in danger. That is why SUVs have big, chunky tires, have high ground clearance, and have big engines and four-wheel drive so that they can tackle these difficult terrain that your hatchback or sedan cannot. So, if you do not do these things, mountain biking, trail running, whitewater rafting, or farming for that matter, why own an SUV? Well, the only reason I can think of is that you will do things like this. We've seen this all too often. People who buy SUVs do not know how to park them and just buy them for the status symbol. And honestly, that's what I think people buy SUVs for. Just to tailgate people and for status symbol, to own a car that takes you higher off the ground than the other people, to make yourself look bigger because you have a small man complex. I don't know, but personally, I don't get it. Why people buy these cars yet they do not use them for what they were designed to do. Okay, that's enough with my little rant. Here's the question. Should you buy one? Should you buy an SUV? And specifically, should you buy this SUV? Well, that is up to you. But if I were to answer that question for you, well, I would say yes. Now, I know what you're thinking. For the most part of this video, I have been complaining about SUVs. But bear with me. I say yes, buy one, but for the right reasons. You see, this SUV is a great car for the city. It's comfortable, it's quiet, and doesn't feel as big as it is. So even if you live in the city, but also want to enjoy the weekend getaway to the countryside, and you don't want to get worried that if the terrain gets rough while you're there, or the weather changes and gets challenging, you want to stay safe, then yes, this car makes sense. Personally, I would buy the Tiguan, but I would not buy it with this engine. It's just too small. I'd get the 2-liter version because that comes with the full motion. And like I said before, the whole point of these cars is that you should tackle terrain and go to places that a normal car can't. It's supposed to take you to places where you can be adventurous, and that to me is the whole point. At $709,900, this Tiguan is not cheap, but no SUV is either. Honestly, I think the Tiguan does a great job of being the new Golf of VW. You see, the Golf did everything just right, and I think the Tiguan does the same thing. It's the right size, it has the right capabilities, and it just looks right. So if I had money, I would definitely buy the Tiguan, and I think so should you. Follow the description below if you're interested, and who knows, maybe the guys at Mastercars can give you a better price.